All right, cool. Recording has started. What's going on, guys? My name is Jason Joseph. This is our third episode of Sharing the Mic with JJ. And this week, I have an awesome guest on here. All right, she's the traffic anchor at KYW News Radio 1060, a former sports update anchor at 94 WIP, a Rowan alum, and she also does the Everything Special Needs show, also that airs on Rowan Radio and a couple of other stations as well. She is Sue Schilling. Sue, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, Jason.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for doing this. I I first have to ask you, okay, because I know that you're a big Mets fan.
I knew this was coming. Okay. I just didn't think it was going to be the first question.
I, I I I I need to know how you're doing.
Horrible. Well, how do you think I'm doing? I'm a Met
Oh
fan.
my
How else would I be
gosh.
doing?
I I don't know. I honestly don't know. I have no idea like what Steve Cohen has been doing, and like I
How
feel
do you
bad,
go from
you
winning
know?
over 100 games to just being the laughing stock and having to unload Verlander and Scherzer? I mean,
I
this is a joke. I mean, I'm not a fan of how the playoffs are structured now. I never liked the third wild card team. I get it if you're a Phillies fan, because the end result was good for you. I get
well,
all that.
well,
But the
yeah.
fact that they won over 100 last year, then got knocked out in the first round of the playoffs, I would have thought that there would have been a sense of hunger entering the season. I mean,
Yep.
granted, Verlander was an addition, but I would have thought that that was, you know, that last piece, there would be an extra hunger, but
Yep.
instead it was just the opposite. And then of course Diaz getting hurt, celebrating the World Baseball Classic. I mean, that didn't get things off to a great start, but even
No.
with that, I mean, this whole season, I mean, other than Alonso, I mean, what are we looking at here?
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. And they just it wasn't even just Verlander and Scherzer. It was Dominic Leone. It was like Mark Hanna. Like they're just unleashing everybody. And I've heard from reports that even Pete was on the trade block too. And I'm just like, wow, like that's absolutely crazy. But no,
Yeah,
I just had to check in just to see how you were doing because I know it's fresh, and the first person I was thinking of, like when it came to the Mets, I was like, I have to ask Sue this first because I'm sure that she's not feeling too well about it.
no, it's just how the whole thing turned around. I mean, we were looking at something that was building and so prominent, new ownership, and things were on the up. And now
Yeah,
it's like, or when are they going to be good again? You're looking at it like this is a joke. You don't know how these young players are going to turn out. And it's like, you know what? They should discount the tickets for the rest of the season because you
yeah,
should. When people bought these tickets, they were expecting to see top tier pitchers and a team that was competing. Now, if you've got a bunch of minor leaguers, they should not be charging full price like that.
yeah. I'm like 1000% with you. I personally thought that there were even some times like where I was when I was watching them play against the Phillies where Buck was just not going to his bullpen like when he should have been, and he was just not making the best decisions. And I thought that maybe from a managerial perspective, that you saw the Phillies go on this run last year where they got a new manager, even though he was
Right.
their bench manager, and I thought that maybe that they had the talent and they had the pieces, but it was just the voice, somebody that could bring them together and make them feel
Right. and
cohesive.
and that's the one thing, like I said, I'm not a fan of the third wild card, but that's the one thing about it is that you're not really out of it. I mean, and you looked
Right.
at where the Phillies were last June, and then they ended up going to the World Series. They had a horrible, first half of the season, but they got hot at the right
Rush.
time. So
Right.
I think teams should wait a little longer to pull the trigger now, unless you have absolutely zero chance. And I guess that's how they felt about it. But it just feels like such a waste.
Yeah, no, I'm 1000% with you. But hey, hopefully there could be some sort of positive spin on this. I don't know how, but I guess we just have to wait and see how things
But
go.
that's all we can do at this point. But you look at the other teams, and they've gotten better. I
I
mean,
know.
the Braves are going to be good for a long time. They just from A to Z, that the bottom of their farm system to the top, they managed to make it work. And you look at them. this isn't like a 1 year thing for them. They're going to be good
Oh
for a long
no.
time. And the Marlins have gotten better.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I got to give Kim Ying a lot of credit. I think she's done a really great job as the GM for the Marlins, and like the fact that she was able to trade Gene Segura and trade Garrett Cooper, and even though like he didn't pitch so well last night, David
Right.
Robertson, I do think that like long term that does make them better.
Yeah, they've
Um,
gotten better. They've
so
gotten better. So now you have more teams you have to climb over. You
oh
know,
yeah, yeah for sure. But so I wanted to just dive into it like right away. So first I have to ask you, because this is called sharing the mic with JJ. You've had so many people that you've got to share the mic with over the years, and you've had some really cool moments. What would you say it was like a really cool moment that you got to share with someone like while you were on the air?
I would say, without a doubt, I was a guest on Angelo Cataldi's show after the Eagles won the Super Bowl. About a month after they won, Angelo had me on to talk about a moment I had with my daughter, who is, for the most part, nonverbal. And after the Eagles won the game, and this is a girl that doesn't speak sentences, uses her uh, a, an app on her iPad to communicate. And after the Eagles won the Super Bowl, the next morning, she verbalized, and clear as day, they won the game. And then when Angelo heard about that, he had me on the radio talking about it. And that was definitely the best moment, because we got to share that moment of how that Super Bowl win made her feel like any other kid, and how someone who doesn't speak sentences vocalized at that moment. And Angelo said, that was a miracle. And being on the air with him to be able to share that moment, definitely bar none, was the best moment. And then getting the feedback from other people that said they heard the interview live, and they told me that, like, that brought them to tears, hearing something like that, and just it was just amazing. So that was definitely I would say, the best moment.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's like what sports is all about. It brings us together. It brings our families together, and it makes us feel like we're a part of something that's even bigger than life. And at first, like when I heard that story, I was taken back by that, and I was like, wow, that is literally just like the epitome of what sports truly is. I'm happy that you were able to share that with everybody else on here, because I always thought that was something that was really cool, and the first time I heard you say that, I was like, "Wow, that's unbelievable."
It was one of those moments that you wish you could freeze in time. And I remember saying this to Angelo and the morning show at that time, saying, I was just so happy for her, because we talk about how sports brings people together, and at that time she felt like any other kid. And I think that was the best part of it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, for sure. And I think that 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 pretty much like ties in like to the next question, because it's also about like where it started, like for you, because like and like your sports fandom, and that type of thing. But in regards to just like getting involved with sports, and even just getting involved with the radio, what was that what was that like one moment where you just felt like, you know I like doing stuff like on the air, and I like being in front of a mic, but I also like love talking about sports. What was that one moment where you felt like that just talking about sports was going to be something that you could see yourself doing every day?
When I was in college, basically, it was interesting. Would go. I remember I was a sophomore in college, and I'd get to the cafeteria for breakfast, and I was there, and usually the same crew would come in that I end up sitting eating breakfast with. And one guy comes walking in. His name is, still keep in touch with him to this day, Rich Simmers. He's Rowan. And he was writing some notes down, and I said, "What are you doing?" And he's like, he said, "I'm getting ready for my sports update." I'm like, "Sports update?" And then he's explaining. He's like, "I'm on the college radio station. I'm doing sports updates. I'm getting everything ready." I was like, "Oh,
Right.
well, maybe I can do that. How do you sign up?" And then he gave me the information, and then I walked over there and signed up. And after I did my first sports update, I was like, I want to do this. And then
Right.
I signed up for the station, and then I started doing some games and got really involved, and it went from there. But I remember when I went in and I did my first sports update, I came out of there. I was like, oh, no, no, I want to go back and I want to do this again. So it wasn't like a one and done. I knew I really, it was
Yeah.
something I wanted to do. So I went through the process of getting involved in the station, and then getting my major to communications, and, went through the whole thing. But it was then that was when I took the mic that I realized that this was something I wanted to do.
Yeah, and I think it's funny that you bring that up because both of us Rowan alum, but I I, I kind of have like a little bit of a similar story, like in that sense where I saw that somebody that I knew was getting involved with the station, and I thought to myself like, now's the time for me to just do it because I could literally see like just like them talking about sports, them doing sports minutes and all those types of things, and I'm like, I should do this too, you know?
Yeah.
And and it was just like so contagious at the time. And I actually I don't usually tell people this, but the first time that I actually, like went through like the whole training process, I failed.
Oh,
I
really?
I actually failed, but there was something that just really sparked me to actually like go back and to just like try out for it again because I knew that in my heart, and this was like actually like when I was starting to struggle during school, but I knew that there was something that just had to had to happen like in order for me to go back because I couldn't tell you like what it was that just forced me to do it, but I just felt like I had to do it. And looking back on that, like, I'm so happy that I was able to do it
Yeah,
because
well, I'm glad too, because then I was able to
yeah.
connect with you and meet you, and we're able to do this. And you're doing a great job with your shows and all that. So it was good that you
Oh,
stuck with it.
thank you. Yeah. Yeah, no, I
Rowan
really
alumni,
do
we,
appreciate
we have
that.
to stick together too.
We do. No, absolutely. And everything that I was able to do at the radio station, I got very fortunate, in definitely a lot of senses because of what happened like during the pandemic and with all these partnerships that happened and the new major with sports communication and media. Just the timing of it all was perfect. But even though I got to take advantage of so many great opportunities, there's just like no doubt like I have to owe like the rest of like what I'm doing, like definitely to Rowan University because they've just been so great and the radio station is awesome. And Derek and Leo are fantastic people for sure. So, um, but so so WIP like comes into play, right? And
Yes.
and you're starting to do like sports updates with them. What what kind of like led from like point A to like point B, from graduating from Rowan and from having all those experiences, what led from what led from that to just getting like the first job like out of college?
Sure. So I graduated from Rowan in 1993, May of 93. And I got hired for my first job in radio in March of 94. It was actually at a music station and also doing news, just hard news. And so I got a job doing that uh, in South Jersey and was playing music. It was big band, nostalgia music. And then I started doing the overnight shift, and the overnight shift was really the best thing to happen because it gave me an opportunity to really, that's a chance to hone your skills a little bit. And I was able to do that. And then I would do the morning news. And from there, I was able to really, work on the skills. And then I would go in there and practice doing sports updates and record them. And I would record them during the overnight. And then I would send the tapes to WIP. So I sent a lot of tapes to WIP, never heard anything. And then one day I came home and there was a message from then program director, the late Tom Bigby, and telling me to give him a call back. So I gave him a call back and he said, we have a part time sports update opening on WIP. Are you interested? And I said, yes, I am. And then I was in for the interview. And that was early in the week. By the end of the week, which was July 4th weekend, I did my first update shift on WIP. That was July of 1999, July 4th weekend. And
Wow.
then I was there all the way to April of 2020 when the pandemic hit and the sports world stopped.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I want to kind of like go back to, just like the types of skills that you were able to develop, during those overnight shows. Um, what would you say were like some of the biggest things that you've learned from just that experience?
You need the opportunity to, as they say and use a sports term, you need to get your reps. You need to get your reps in. So you have to be, I was on 5 nights a week. You have to, and actually 6 days because I did a Sunday morning shift. You have to get the reps in. You have to put the work in. And then as you keep putting the work in, I started to, and you have to record yourself and you have to critique yourself and find somebody to critique you. Not your parents, not your you got to find somebody objective to critique you because your parents are always going to say you sound great. You have to find somebody objective to critique you, and you have to listen to them and take and really work out on getting better, because you can't expect them to just say everything sounds great. You want them to critique you because that's how you're going to get better. Obviously you don't want to say you someone who just says you stink. That you have to, someone who's going to give you feedback that you
Constructive
can work with,
criticism.
and specific feedback. What it's something specific to work on, and that's something that helps me. Just telling me you got to get better, that doesn't give me any information. I need like specific feedback. Work on this, and I'll
Right.
work on it and eventually get better at it. And that's what I did. You have to keep working at it, keep getting better at it. Record yourself. It's a lot easier now to record yourself than it was back then, where you had to stick the cassette tape in and all that. Now you could
Oh,
just
yeah.
record yourself on the computer and listen to yourself. And that's how you end up getting better. But you need to work at it and continue to do the reps and put the work in and get better. And then as you see yourself getting better, then you can watch yourself advance.
Absolutely. And I always tell people I always tell people this whole story about how, sometimes I still go back to like the pizza with the pros and all the networking events at Rowan in regards to the sports communication and media field because I've learned that you can never stop networking with people, A, and B, like it's just a really good way to just keep in touch with all the people that are still like within the program and just be able to, keep those connections alive too, which I also think is really important, but also, just like what you get out of it. I think is really so important as well. So if even if you have the opportunity of just going back to different types of networking events, with people that are in the sports field or within the radio business, because it definitely just never hurts. And I went back to an event last year, and I got to see Scott Fransky.
Oh
And that
wow.
was really, really awesome. Just to be able to see him after the World Series run and just to be able to talk to him afterwards. And the one thing that he said to me is that, with all due respect, you did minor league baseball, you did NBA G League basketball. Like, how many weeks or how many days a week did you do it? Like, for just play by play? And I had to think to myself, and I was like, once, one to like two times, like every 2 to 3 weeks. And he said, like, with all due respect, that's not enough. Like, you gotta get reps. Like, you have to do this almost every day. Like, if you want to do 162 games, you gotta try to do as many games as possible. And as great as it was to just be able to, share the mic with so many people and to be in a group with people, I also realized that I wasn't honing in on my skills that I really should be, focusing on, and I wasn't, getting the reps. And that's one of the reasons why I started this channel because I thought to myself, sometimes I could save money by just like not going to games in person and just like being able to do games on the monitor. Of course, there's blessings and curses about it because I'm not getting the in-person experience. But for sure, I'm definitely getting somewhat of an experience by doing it. And that's why I've been doing this like a lot. And I'm not just doing it for play by play. Now I'm doing it for podcasting. I'm doing it for networking. And it's just been an awesome experience. But I thought that you brought up a really good point in just regards to just getting more reps and getting better and getting that constructive criticism from other people that are not your parents because that's something that a lot of people I don't think talk about.
Yeah, and that is really important. You brought up the networking and the relationships. I learned that from working all those Sunday mornings with Sonny Hill. Uh, is forming relationships. That's so important to be able to form the relationships and form the networking and being able to have those relationships with people in the business. Uh, it's such a valuable experience. That's how you learn, and that's how you meet people. That's how you meet other people, and that's how you grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And so after after you get after you get the position at WIP, you're there for a very, very long time. Just talk about like the overall experience of what it was like just being in that environment and working with guys like Angelo and Howard and all the other people that are in the business.
It was a great experience. Loved being able to be involved in everything in the moment, being able to report sports, what was going on. I worked during a lot of great Eagles seasons. There was a lot of disappointments in the NFC Championship games when I was there, but for the
Yep.
most part, I mean, they very rarely gave you a bad season, so there was always excitement during the season. The Phillies, there was good seasons and there was dreadful seasons during the times I was there, but it was always, and then you had the Sixers, of course, but there was always excitement, and it was always exciting. And no matter what shift you were working, even if you were if I was filling in on a day shift, my consistent shift was weekends and then some nights. So you saw different people, you formed different relationships, and just being able to be there and being able to report on sports, you're like a kid in a candy store. You get to do
Yep.
something fun that you enjoy. So it was a wonderful experience.
I think that that's absolutely incredible, and I think that you also hit the nail on the head because that's exactly why I love doing, what I'm doing on here because it makes me feel like a kid, and just I just go back to like the whole like Jessica, like the whole Jessica moment, like that's just like what we strive to do, like
Right.
we're really just so fortunate because we're able to pursue our passion and we're able to just experience this and when the moments are just so cool like that, you, it's unfathomable. Like you can't explain it.
Because
And
sports is so in the moment, and that's what's great
correct,
about it. It's just so in the moment, and most of them can never
correct.
be duplicated.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's what makes it so cool for sure. Um, was there ever a time at WIP like where you thought like there was a time like where it was where you thought that maybe like you challenged yourself or like there was just like a specific moment where you thought like, oh man, like this is getting like a little bit stressful at times.
Yeah, it was cool. I felt I took it to the next level when I had the opportunity to host some shows. They were overnight shows, but that was definitely a challenge because I got to take it to the next level and host a couple of shows, and that was a great thing because I felt like I was able to expand my skills a little bit and being able to talk more one on one with the audience who had listened, and it was a unique situation because they were familiar with me because they heard me all those years on the sports update. So it wasn't like I was a new voice on the radio because they were familiar with me, but they got to speak with me instead of just hearing the update. We got to have conversations, and that I felt was I challenged myself with that, being able to take that to the next level, which to me those were moments that I'll definitely cherish was being able to host some shows.
And was it just the reps that helped you get over, just that anxiety, or was it just a compilation of just other things on top of just the reps?
A compilation. It was the reps and being able to have that confidence to say I can do this. And once I got on there and got in my groove and started talking to people, then things started flowing and the show went smoothly. So just getting over that initial anxiety is probably true.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think that that's the only way that you just get better at stuff is just by doing those reps, and I think that just like increases the confidence and everything, and the more times you do it, the better that you get, and
Yeah, I mean, if somebody's
all that.
giving you a chance and give you an opportunity, you want to take full advantage of it. You want to, if you get a chance, you want to go for it and take full advantage of it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And then so then after that, like we're gonna flash forward like years and years later. Like, unfortunately the pandemic hit, and the pandemic really hit us all like really, really hard, and it wasn't even just from a social distancing and that type of thing, type of perspective, but even just like in the industry, things constantly changed and things are still constantly changing like within the business. Um, what was it like for you during the whole pandemic and just the whole situation and
It
everything?
was a rough one. It was definitely rough. I know a lot of people had it hard. It was hard on all levels. It was difficult, and it changed things. It caused a lot of people a lot of hardships, and for me, and it's no exception. It was it was a devastating time. It really was. I mean, and when I was let go. And also because of the pandemic, it wasn't like you could be brought in and sat down and have a conversation. Everything was done so impersonally at that time, and it had to be done that way. And I get that.
Yeah,
So there was no hard feelings as far as that's concerned because it wasn't like anyone was in the office and things like that. So it seemed surreal in the beginning, and then it kind of sunk in, and it was an adjustment. It was a very difficult time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, for sure. It definitely was, and I'm personally really happy, like, that I didn't graduate, from Rowan during the pandemic because I could have done that, and I really lucked out because I wasn't going into college, like, I wasn't leaving college, and I realized that just getting into the workforce would have been so, so hard, and I was really fortunate because I got to stay in school, and because of that, I was able to get more experience, and I was lucky because I wasn't entering into the realm of college, and I wasn't exiting, and like I just know that it was a really hard time for some people, just like on the business side of stuff, and even just personally because like we couldn't go out, and lockdown was like a really big deal at the time too. But I mean, of course, like the whole, WIP experience was awesome. Um, but then like what got you into the whole KYW experience?
Well, luckily it's the same company, so that part worked out. I
Yeah.
contacted KYW, and it turned out there was an opening for the part-time traffic reporter. So I contacted them, and we worked it out, and I was able to come back as a traffic reporter with the company. And so I've been doing that. It'll be 2 years now. So it worked
Wow.
out. It worked out well that I was able to come back with the company, and now just down the hall at KYW, and doing traffic reporting.
Wow. And do you so is that all overnight, or is that just like all sporadic, like either during
It's
the
been
day or
overnights.
during? Okay.
Basically, on some nights I go from 11:30 to around 4:30, and then
Wow.
on weekends it's 10. It starts at 10 p.m. So it's a late night, early morning, overnights. But it's been consistently overnights. Usually 4 nights a week.
That's good. That's good. I actually forgot to ask you this a little bit before because sometimes a lot of people don't realize that when you're doing overnight shows and sometimes because the hours aren't consistent, how do you find structure? Because I think that was something that was really hard for me, coming out of college, because I would go to NFL films and even just during then, like sometimes it wasn't always like a straight like 9 to 5, and sometimes like I'd have to go in at 1 week from like 5 to 1. I go to 9 to 5, and just getting used to the whole clockwork. It's not so easy to juggle. But how do you or how did you deal with that?
It takes a little bit of time. Luckily, the 4 nights are in a row overnight. So I try to get the sleep when I can. If it's a school day, I'll put my daughter on the bus, get her. You have to get her ready for school and everything. And then if I'm able to, I'll take a nap during the day. So you get your sleep whenever you can. you know,
Yeah.
that's basically you get your sleep. And then on my nights off, I try to make sure if I'm off, I get a great night's sleep. Make sure I go to bed early. a lot of times if I'm off, I'll fall asleep before 8 o'clock at night. I'm just so tired. So,
Yeah.
when you're off, make sure you get a good night's sleep and just try to get your sleep whenever you can. Try to take care of yourself as best as you can, as much as it is a little easier to go for the bag of chips or whatever. I found that I feel a lot better when I'm, taking care of myself a little bit better, making sure I'm, eating somewhat, making somewhat healthier choices, eating, get a little bit of exercise in, do what
Yeah.
you can, but yeah, try to, keep yourself as healthy as possible.
Yeah, yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense. Sometimes even like when I'm doing the games on here, now I've gotten into the point like where I'm starting to take better care of my voice because I
Hmm.
realize that the voice is like the most powerful thing. And if I don't start taking care of that now, and if I'm on the air for like or if I'm doing stuff for my channel like 4 to 5 hours a day, my voice is not used to that. So I
Sure.
gotta start resting it and I gotta start taking better care of it and start drinking some tea, stay hydrated, and even just doing all those things to just take care of my voice. And obviously like the mental health aspect too, getting up and being able to exercise and getting a good night's sleep, all those things are important as well. But I just I don't know, I just feel like it's hard because a lot of us like don't always like have these sort of conversations, and I wanted to make sure that I asked you that question because I think it's
No, it's
such an
important.
important one.
It's really important. And even when you're on the air, when it's overnight, it's easy to just run to the vending machines and everything. And I found that I started feeling better when I started packing like some Greek yogurt and
Yeah.
some fruit instead of running to the junk, the vending machine. So I
Right.
make sure I have water, some Greek yogurt, and some fruit. And I started feeling a lot better when I started doing that, as opposed to just running for the for the junk food. I mean, we
Yeah.
all, within reason, you're going to have a bag of pretzels or something, so no big deal. But on a regular basis, to just kind of pack healthier things, it makes you
Yeah.
feel a lot better.
Oh, oh yeah, no, for sure. I remember a couple of times like I would have a couple of people that were working with me like at the Blue Rocks, and then they would have like another job like at a radio station or something, and they would just literally they would just go for like the 4 for 4s like at Wendy's like in between shifts because it was going to be like a long night for them. So I find that to be like
You're going to
really
get
interesting.
tired and run down. So I found that out the hard way.
Yes.
So
Yes.
and I did notice a big difference when I just started packing everything and making sure everything was kept healthy.
Yeah, no, for sure, and I think that that's absolutely important, and it's really vital for sure. Um, I do also want to ask you, um, you know, talking about like the special needs community and talking about Jess. I mean, how much of an impact has she made? Like not just like in the personal life, but just from the career aspect too.
No, she's definitely inspired me to find more resources, and she's inspired me to do more shows and connect with more people to find more resources. And it has helped because I've been able to do the Everything Special Needs radio show on Rowan. I record the show and send them a show every week, and then also on an internet radio station, WNJHradio.net. And it's given me an opportunity to share more resources. And you talk about relationships and network. I've met so many people through the special needs radio show that I would never have met. And to
Yeah,
me, that's a cool thing as well. So, from a career standpoint, Jessica has definitely been an inspiration because I've been able to, start the special needs radio show and spread some resources. And if somebody contacts me and says that they found out about a resource from the show, I mean that's a great feeling because you helped get them something that they needed. And and we try to feature everything from sports leagues to, we've had lawyers on, and just people
yeah,
just wanting to share their stories of things that they've done. And we try to run the gamut. We've had some shows that are more lighthearted and fun. We've had some shows that are pretty heavy. So it's been an opportunity for people to share their stories and for people to find resources.
Yeah, and it's honestly such an incredible show. You do such an awesome job with it, and
Thank
I've
you.
I've had the privilege to be on it. And I remember like my very first conversation with you. I've had a lot of people, reach out to me and tell me, oh, you got to reach out to Sue, whether it was from the special needs community, whether it's from the Jewish community, even from the Rowan community. Like I had so many different ties, to Sue Schilling, and my first time that I talked to you, it was literally on that show, and I'll just never forget that, and just thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for just always keeping in touch with me, and just for and just for staying in touch and all those types of things. I really do look up to you.
Oh, well, thank you. It's to me, it's about forming those relationships and meeting people, and being able to form a friendship with you and a relationship to be able to consider you a friend, and also to have the professional connections with you and be able to do shows together. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much, too. I really do appreciate you for coming on here and for taking time out of your busy day to do this, because I know it's a lot. And, time really is precious. So thank you.
Oh no, it's great. Thank you so much for having me.
Anytime, anytime. Guys, that's going to wrap things up here on the third episode of Sharing the Mic with JJ. Please make sure that you go follow Sue Schilling on all the social media platforms that are out there. And please make sure that you go follow the Everything Special Needs show as well. All right, I'll catch you all in the next one. Hope you guys have yourselves a great weekend.